Common knowledge, I think, your love of computers and the internet. You tell the story of having the first, Mac when it was room size. What are your feelings on how the online world is affecting books? Good old-fashioned, hold them up, get a stiff neck in bed books.
It's an interesting one. I mean, I arrived in a bit of a sort of state because I was due to fly on Monday here to Perth, and instead I flew on Sunday via San Francisco because I was very touched to be invited by the Jobs family and by Apple to the memorial for Steve Jobs. And obviously there's a lot of talk about his legacy as a human being, as an entrepreneur, as a visionary, as I don't know, what do you call it? He's almost a unique position.
He changed the world as we know it.
He changed the world is the point, and everybody recognises that. And you occasionally read, there's one today in the BBC news site I noticed, research shows that internet may be changing human brain. It's, of course, when you read it, when you read it in detail, you realise, of course, it's absolute nonsense. I mean, the fact is, everything we do changes our brain. My conversation with you is changing my brain. This experience is changing my brain. Brain is forming new neural pathways all the time. And it was merely saying that there is some evidence that those with larger Facebook followers or Twitter followers have a slightly more developed area here than those with fewer. It doesn't. It does have the honesty to say that it doesn't know which way round it is, that having a lot of friends increases it, or whether you have that increased amount, you're more likely to have more friends. So the point is, it's a very chicken and eggy thing anyway. Yeah. But in terms of books, I think it's quite interesting. Julian Barnes, who just won the Booker Prize with his novel A Sense of an Ending, in his speech he thanked his agent and his publisher and the usual. But he also thanked the designer of the book and said, in an age in which the physical book is apparently under threat, it's all the more important for a book to be a beautiful object if you wish to read it in its traditional way. And she is the best book designer I've ever known, and he named her by name, Wendy something. And it is a beautiful object, his book. And of course, I, like anybody else, I'm extremely fond of beautiful objects. I used to collect early 20th century writers, Forster in particular, and Evelyn Waugh and P.G. Wodehouse and so on. And I have first editions, rooms full virtually of their books, and I love them as objects. But I also love e-books. And you may remember from school that an electron is one of those particles that whizzes around the nucleus of an atom, when you remember doing atoms at school. And if you remember, it has a minus charge and it spins, but it has no mass. Now, that's very important because I travel a lot, and if I have a Kindle or an iPad, in fact I have many of both naturally because I'm a completely saddo, but I won't travel with them all. But let's say I'm travelling with an iPad. If I travel with an iPad that has no books on it at all and no films on it, it weighs exactly the same as an iPad with 1,000 books and 100 films. Now that makes a hell of a lot of difference, the amount of gas that is being consumed by the aeroplane as it travels from across the Pacific, and so there is a use for ebooks. I think that is gigantically important, but I don't think one replaces the other. Radio was not superseded by film, and film was not superseded by television. More people listen to the radio now than ever have in the history of the medium. The fact is, one thing does not. We don't stop having stairs in houses because somebody invented the lift. Where lifts are appropriate, they're damn useful. Otherwise, stairs are good, and they're good for you. Mm-hmm. And where e-books are useful, they are fantastically useful. But where a nice object whose pages you can turn is good, that's good too. And in fact, this last year, more physical books were published than ever before in history. And at the same time, for the first time ever, Google sold more e-books than it did. Wow. I mean, Amazon sold more e-books than it did hardback. So, hard or soft cover books. So it just shows that the point is one thing complements another. And I think those people who just keep going on about how they like the smell of books can bog off.
It could get more people reading it.
Pathetic, obvious. Everybody likes the smell of books. What has that got to do with the price of eggs? It is absolutely absurd remark. They think by saying that they're suddenly making themselves kind of sensitive and interesting.